Hello, well, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to EPIC38, powered by Intel.
Of course.
Next game here is our first best of 5 in the upper bracket, Bellator
Yeah.
versus Mix. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are it's going to be a banger.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Both doing really well in their groups. Mix taking a bit of a surprise upset, beating out Zane to come first in that group. You know, he was seeded slightly lower than Zane, so not really expected to do so well. Seb, Bellator, kind of, you know, a bit slow moving into this competition. He actually only played 2 matches in groups because of the weirdness as discussed. So, you know, he hasn't shown like really fully what he's capable of.
No,
but, you know.
Then again, last time he did actually manage to beat Mix 3-2 in a best of 5. So Seb certainly has it within him to beat Mix.
Yep.
We just have to see what happens though. Mix, very good random player.
Yeah, I mean, we really enjoyed his games yesterday. Those were really great. And, you know, seeing more from Bellator, who did really well, I think last Epic LAN, is always great. It's always good to see.
Yeah.
It is going to come down, you know, to which races mix randoms. I'm actually not sure which, you know, which strengths and weaknesses Seb feels. I don't know, you know if he's a big fan of CVT or
speaking
something.
with Seb, Seb is aware that Mix has a very large bag of tricks.
Yep.
So a lot of what Mix does feels like it shouldn't work on paper, but because you've never played against it before and Mix has the surprise factor with random, it's so difficult to prepare.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's, you know, really going to come into play in this game. It's it's going to be an interesting one, seeing, you know, going into the game as the Zerg player, you're thinking like, okay, so game 1 I can do this, game 2 I can do that, but you don't know what you can do because you don't know what the opponent is even going to be. So
you've got to have like 9 game plans if you really wanted to plan that far ahead, but you can't really do that against a random player.
That said, you know, Seb is definitely, you know, strong enough to play really standard, and actually he's not one of the more cheesy Zergs that we see, you know.
No,
out
Seb
of the
is
UK
absolutely
Zergs,
a straight up standard macro player, but I think that goes in his favour. All right, we are now loading into the game. Countdown is just finished. Let's introduce the players then.
Okay, you can do this one.
All right, spawning in the top left, the pink Protoss player this game. It is Mix.
And down here in the bottom right, playing in the orange, is Red Dragon's Desolator. Though we're going to keep saying Seb
or Bellator.
Or Bellator or something. Does seem like Mix always plays the pink. I think he likes it.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And seems to be playing a lot of Protoss, though. You know, theoretically there's a 1 in 3 chance, but he's gotten quite a few in a row.
I think that's just emblematic of this entire tournament. A lot of Protoss here this tournament, which is unusual, I'd say, for Epic LAN.
Historically, I think Epic LAN's been a Zerg-favoured tournament for sure. But I think that's not so true anymore. I don't know. I see, you know, with Roscoe, Zane.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, we've even got Fujumi here, so we've
certainly back in the day, it used to
as well.
It used to all be Zergs when you had Risky, Orc, you had AC, Revolution, Figaro, Mix when he was a Zerg main. So yeah, a lot of high-level Zergs, and yet we've seen more and more.
What did Bling play? Was Bling a Zerg?
He was a Protoss player.
But
Bling hasn't come to Epic LAN, has he?
I have no idea.
I don't
I'm
think
just thinking
so.
of UK players.
I think he's played in a few Insomnias perhaps, but not in an Epic LAN. But
so this is going to be the first reveal for Seb.
Yeah,
he now knows it's a Protoss, and he knows it's Protoss because
the probe is there.
Because the probe had to scout. So you know, this is Mix giving away his race, though he kind of has to, because if he doesn't scout, it could be a 12 pool and he could just straight up die, which would be, you know, a bit irritating. So
this was a pull first here by Seb, but again, I think that's just a safety pull first rather than any kind of cheese.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he doesn't want to play into a random Zerg versus Zerg where his opponent is playing a really aggro opener.
Yes, exactly.
I think you definitely want to be really safe. Exactly. I think you're right. He's just going to drone out of this. It's not going to be really all in.
We see these 2 links here just chasing away the probe, saying, get out my house, get off my property. And the probe is running away, but it looks like it will go all the way back home. Yeah,
it's taking the scenic route. Just delay, you know, buy some time for the Adept to get out. Obviously, if the links show up at your base and you have no units, that's a bit of an annoyance. Whereas
but you can see the Adepts being chronoed out there, so no worries there. Robo first, which is an interesting choice. You normally see Protoss players go for Stargate.
Yeah, Stargate's definitely the meta at the moment, especially, you know, they're calling it hero style, where you make a few oracles and then go into, like, maybe Stalkers, you know, quite a few Stalkers, and play around that. And this is a good comp because the Stalkers are strong against, like, Roaches and Queens and that sort of thing. And they're weak to the Lings, but the oracles can defend the Stalkers from the Lings, so it works out really well. This game, we're not seeing that. It's going to be 2 gates up the front here with the Robo in the main. I wonder, I'm not great at reading this, maybe it could be Adept play, but then I'm pretty sure you get the Templar Archives first.
Yeah.
So it may be Disruptor drop.
It could actually be. That's actually a really good shout, because we haven't seen a second tech building yet. Normally you'd see Robo then Twilight. Robo then Stargate would be wild, but no, there is the Robo base. It looks like it's going to be Disruptor drops.
Yeah, I think this makes sense. Otherwise, there's not really any reason to get the Robo base so early. You know, you need it with the Adepts for the Warp Prism so that you can reinforce.
Robo as well.
Okay, double Robo.
This is what we were talking about earlier. Mix's very large bag of tricks. Okay, we see this Overlord coming in, which is going to scout there eventually. But obviously the Stalker's here. That's going to try to protect Mix's base from any kind of scouting. So
yeah, it's definitely positioned
going to really struggle to get that information.
Yeah, though kind of having no information is information in itself. You know, if your opponent is stopping you from scouting, you're thinking, okay, but why are you stopping me from scouting?
Yeah. Oh, we saw this, though, earlier with Seb versus Ross, where Ross won 2-0 because the scouting was always denied. And so we saw Ross surprise Seb with, with a Stargate to start, and then with the Adept follow-up. So right now, Seb has no idea what it could be.
He doesn't, but he is putting some punishment down on on Mix's wall. He did pick off an Adept for free, which is pretty good. I guess it killed a few Lings, but it's a pretty good get. He's mostly doing this to force the Stalker to come down the ramp and fight at the front so that he can get his Overlord in, but he's just not going to be able to, and now loses the Overlord is going to be a bit of a pain. He's putting a Roach Run behind it for safety, which I think is a good play. And the first two Disruptors are going to be hitting the field soon.
I don't think Seb saw that Warp Prism.
No,
that would have given it away, absolutely.
It might have just got into the vision from the Overlord on that pillar, but I don't think it did.
To be fair, even as Seb, even if you see the Warp Prism, you're probably thinking this is going to be some kind of gateway attack with chargelets or whatever. Seeing Disruptors, I don't think that's to be expected at all.
It's a thing, but it's not like a common thing, you know?
Sure,
like, it's not like...
I mean, the Warp Prism does get scouted. We see Lings and Roaches in the production tab, but I mean, so long as the Disruptors drop far away enough, they can actually pick off a lot of units. Yeah, it's really going to come down to a bit of a micro battle, to be honest. I really think Seb is overreacting here, making a lot of Roaches and a lot of lasers to try and hold this. Again, he probably just thinks it's some kind of gateway attack, but now he sees the Disruptors. One ball goes out, doesn't connect, the second gets cancelled. Very nice defense here. But you can see those Zerglings. As soon as they surround the Disruptors, you've got to pick them up, you've got to cancel that Disruptor ball. Yeah, that was a pretty good hold from Seb. I think he maybe might be kicking himself a little bit for cutting drones so early, but he's going straight back into macroing out of it now. He's going into the lair now. We see an Immortal coming out for Mix as a follow-up, and 2 more Disruptors as well, by the way. I think you have to. They're good units, and you haven't got much else. You know, you don't have Blink Stalkers, you don't have any ground upgrades, you don't have any big shots going down so far. A lot of Zerglings died there by the sounds of it. I think you're okay losing Zerglings though. They're not like your most... as long as you keep your drone count high, and even if you lost, say, all of these Roaches, that's quite painful as well, because they are... You don't want to lose all this resource for free. Losing a few Lings is okay. I was literally about to say, I don't know how Mix goes into a third base from here, because he stayed on 2 base for so long now. He's warping in a lot of units, and he's got these high-tech Disruptors and Immortals, so... Mix so going in for an attack now. Yeah, he's kind of putting himself all in, but he's really forcing a lot of defense out of Bellator here too. Bellator has cut workers now at 60, which I think is a good number. He's going for lots of units. He just needs to really be careful of these Disruptors. Shot goes out, just about misses the creep tumor. That would have been very cute though. He's having another go. There it is. He finds that one. That's the moral victory. If nothing else. Although that's 2 Disruptors down, he hasn't got for this incoming fight. Yeah, I think he's okay though. Waiting probably more for some more warp-ins. Yeah, another round of Stalkers 6 more Stalkers. On the other hand, his wall is getting attacked now by Lings, and I don't know if he's going to be able to hold that very well. He's going to no. Very nice counter-attack here. It puts a clock on this because Mix cannot recall this army. He needs to get something done. Nice little Ravager shots out there, getting some damage just to play footsies there with the Protoss army. 1 Disruptor ball goes out, 2nd goes out, can it find anything? Yes! Pretty good hit. 4 or 5 Roaches. Another one goes out. The thing is, Mix has Disruptor shots for days. Yeah, that's the problem. So many, and you can juggle with the Warp Prism as well. Yeah, it's so difficult for the Zerg player to engage this. The Zerglings are coming back, it looks like, with the wall there. He's coming back just to try to wrap around the army. Another big shot. But he's got 3 sentries here. I think this is why you need the Ravagers, is to break down the force fields. Oh, Zerglings come in. Force fields go down on the north side, so the Zerglings actually don't do too much to get on top of the Disruptors. But now that the force fields are down, the Roaches come streaming in. Stalkers aren't that good at buffering. So Mix has warped in 5 slow Zealots. now that the disruptors have recharged, he's sending out a few balls, but as soon as they get sent out, Seb just backs away.
Yeah, exactly. And he actually can't warp in anything but Zealots because Seb killed the core on the other side.
And Seb is doing a very good job of respecting this. He's not trying to take a fourth base. He's not trying to build more drones. Oh, this is actually huge. Seb actually picked off the cyber core in the wall, which is why Mix is having to warp in slow Zealots.
I think more Lings here would be a really good shout. There's not too much between. I guess with the Zealots here, it's a little bit tricky, but with the Lings that can get on top of the Stalkers and on top of the Disruptors, you're forcing shots on top of your own units, which is pretty good for the Zerg. This is a lot of roaches here, though, and I think Bellator might have weathered the storm a bit here.
Yeah, I think the longer this goes on, the better it is for Bellator, I would think, because there's certainly no reinforcing Disruptors. It's pretty much what you see is what you get, plus gateway units.
Yeah, and like we said, these are unupgraded, no blink, no charge, no
absolutely.
attack or armor upgrades, so this is another...
2 disruptor shots go out, they connect with some roaches. Lings are streaming around the left side, trying to get a flank on them. If he can get a nice round, this would be very nice for Bellator. But it looks like the Zerglings, they're coming in now. Roaches are investigating on the top side. How are the force fields? There's still energy down the sentries. He cuts off the ramps. The Zerglings go in.
Should get sniped. Okay, this is pretty big here because now the reinforcements are down until Mix can recreate his warp prism. The force field is actually not helping him here because he wants to push up the ramp.
Yeah, but very nice pickoffs there for Bellator. 2 disruptors go out. Big shots there onto the roaches. But there's still a lot here for Bellator. 1 sentry goes down, so there's only 1 left for any sort of force field protection. I think that's the reason why Mix is choosing to back away.
Blood, but he should be really careful here. He doesn't want to be pushing up any ramps. He's been playing this really well by, sitting on top of ramps always and forcing Mix to push into him because he knows that Mix is all in on 2 base. Again, Mix is going to snake around and come and push in. The roaches are slightly out of position here.
Yeah, they are slightly out of position, you're totally right, but Seb is trying to put creep spread down in this location just to try to stop this attack angle. But it's just not enough. All the creep tubers are dead. As soon as Seb steps up, the disruptor balls go out. They connect with some units every so often. Once again, we actually see 2 reinforcing disruptors, so 6 disruptor shots total.
So much AoE that's going to be really good for this.
So dangerous here for Seb now. This third base has actually already taken some damage. Mix steps up. It looks like he might be able to get some shots off with the disruptors zoning the Zerg army away. I think this base is in danger.
I think maybe give it up and pull the drones away. Losing 6 already is not great. When you're now equal on workers, it's quite rough.
I mean, Seb is already building a backup third base to the top side. He's trying to get in. There were some flanking Zerglings, but there's so much Protoss here with the protection of the disruptors.
Seb does manage to get him to push back to, onto the ramp so that he's now holding the high ground. Which is really a big shot comes
huge
through.
Disruptor shot there, shaving off a lot of units.
I don't think Seb should be pushing out here. No, creep. It's really hard to dodge these Novas coming through.
6 disruptors is just so many.
We're so even in all aspects. We're now equal on workers.
We're essentially equal on army supply.
I think give up this base and try
this
and
base is now gone. Mix has just muscled his way over, slowly over time, picking off units of those disruptors.
Yeah, taking really good trades so far.
And he's given himself enough of an advantage to take this location. But once again, it's just so difficult for Seb to tech up to do anything different because he hasn't made a single drone since he was on 60 drones. Nothing but units, and he hasn't had the economy to be able to tech into anything differently to deal with this army of Mix.
There's a lot of bios coming through.
Bios go down, getting some damage off, but again, the Warp Prism is still alive. Nice shots onto there, but they're just not as deadly as those disruptors.
No, you're exactly right. I think it's honestly too many Stalkers. They're not all shooting at once. That's a big hit onto the Ravagers.
2 Ravagers go down.
They're really high-value units.
100 gas each. So for 2 of those to go down, and another one, huge damage.
I think Mix is done here. I think he's really broken the back here, and it's just not enough units out of
I mean, it looks like to start with, Seb was doing well to weather the storm, but just slowly over time, those disruptors just keep gaining incremental value, and then he just keeps warping in more and more Stalkers. And it just looks like still, these trades are so good for Mix.
This is why I'm not a big fan of this map, is because outside of your natural, there's no ramps, beyond your third, so they can just keep pushing up here, and whereas before Seb could control the high ground and zone off from the ramps.
Once again, nice force shields there by Mix, and also nice bios, but again, they just don't have the lethality of these disruptor shots. Another one goes in, gets 3 Ravagers. This is really dire here for Seb. He has got bailing speed now, but again, I just don't think that's enough. once they detonate on the Stalkers, there's nothing to take care of the Disruptors because all the Ravagers will have gone down, of course.
Yeah, he's actually down in supply for the first time.
Yeah.
He,
he's down massively in army supply as well.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough hold, and I'm just not really sure he can do it. Now Mix is going to be getting on top of the Roach Warren, so the reinforcements are
he's
just
now going to cut
him
into the second base. I'm scared. 19 kills on this Disruptor, no kills on this one, 7 on another, 36 kills on that Disruptor. It hasn't lost a single one, but now that Mix has almost trapped himself in this location, but again, with this lack of surface area, the Zergers can't get a wrap around. Nice force fields there, but there's just nothing here, I don't think, for Set. Oh my god, this mouse control is terrible.
Yeah, like you said, he's kind of dived way too deep into the natural of Bellator, but he just has too many units here, and I think this is going to close the game out.
Oh, then again, Seb's done a very nice job of picking off these Disruptors. There's only one left, but there's just so many gateway units. I just don't think there's anything left here for the Zerg to be able to deal with this army.
No, I think you're exactly right, and I think that's going to be GG.
GG is called. Mix takes it 1-0 with the, I would say, janky, but it worked. Very nicely done. Double Robo, Disruptor drops into mass gateway attack.
It's always amazing to me how many units you can really produce off of 2 base. You know,
yes, absolutely.
Bellator scouts, he sees there's no more units, you know, no more expansions coming, no more macro, but you know, the Stalkers just keep coming.
It's also the longevity of the attack.
Yep.
It's 2 bases, but that game lasted 14 minutes.
Yep.
And so, as a Zerg player, I can imagine how frustrating that must feel to think, surely I've weathered the storm now, surely now, and yet there's wave after wave of Stalkers and more Disruptors coming in, and yet you can't get on top of the Disruptors to get rid of the attack.
You can't ever, you know, get rid of the Disruptors, especially with the Warp Prism there. They can always pick them up and keep them safe. And then the Stalkers are so safe because every time the Protoss wants to disengage, they can by sending out the Novas and zoning, and that's quite a rough fight to pick. For
ultimately, the Disruptors are the backbone, and because they never died, the attack was always alive. So wave after wave of gateway units could just come in, even with a nice counter-attack with the Lings going into the natural, getting with the Cyber Core. I reckon... I don't know.
Yeah, so yes.
So yes. Sorry, but being asked a question by one of the players.
Yeah, like you were saying, it's definitely a tough one. It's sorry, we're organising. Yeah, it's definitely a tough one. I'm worried now for Bellator's mindset going into the rest of the games, losing to a kind of 2-base all in like that. It is definitely going to be a bit rough on him. You know, he kind of tried to do everything right. You know, he was trying to scout and trying to work out what was coming his way, and I think didn't take too much damage from the first Disruptor push, but it kind of didn't matter in the end, unfortunately.
No. There we are. Game number 2 then on Babylon.
Yep.
This is one of those maps that has a ramp going into the second base. So
yeah, I think the levels on this one help quite a lot in these sorts of positions. Yeah, once you lose the positioning on those ramps on Grezvan, yeah, you're just on the same level, and it's really hard to play positionally like that.
All right, I've cast nearly half a dozen games of Mix now, playing random, and I swear all bar one have been Protoss.
Yep. RNG, Blizzard.
Right, emblematic of this tournament. This morning in the bottom right as the pink Protoss player, it is Mix.
And down 0-1 in this series so far in the top left in the yellow is Seb.
All right, of course this is a best of 5, so it is first to 3 wins.
We're into the upper bracket now. Yep.
Yeah. Do you think we'll see something similar in that Mix is going to just whack out some of those crazy builds?
I think so. I would expect this kind of mindset. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think probably not the exact same thing. It's going to get predictable if you do the exact same thing. But there's a lot Protoss can do. Like I mentioned in the first game, there's this Stargate opener style. He could do like a lot of adept play, and all of these things are going to be things that Bellator has played against on the ladder before. Yeah. It's just whether he can respond really well to those.
How much do you think that last game is going to play on Bellator's mind, though? Obviously, losing that game in what I would imagine to be a very frustrating way, slowly and painfully. Do you think that's going to influence his decision-making in terms of strategy this game?
I'd like to see him maybe be a bit more aggressive. There was a big window in that game because it was double Robo, where he had not many units. If he'd done a Bane Bust, he might have been in a really good spot that game. But I honestly don't think that Bellator plays that way, so I'm not convinced that is what we will see. I think he's pretty confident in his macro play and doesn't really want to deviate from that too far.
The thing is, I have seen Bellator cheese against Protoss in the past, but against a random player, how do you know to pull out that cheese? It's so difficult to do that against a random player.
Yeah, I mean, unlike what we saw with AC versus Eiger, where that's, you know, planned from the start, and obviously you have to be playing that from the start of the game. You can kind of do some later attacks, so like +1 Ling Floods or like a Bane Bust can always come later if you choose to do that. But again, like you're saying, a lot of these earlier game rushes that just go completely unscouted are definitely the strongest way to kind of get cheesy wins. Yeah.
I mean, once again, kudos to Mix to completely shutting down the scouting attempts by Seb in the last game. It looks like we'll have something similar this time, I reckon, with the Adept coming out to start, but I'm sure there'll be a Stalker in the near future going into the main base. This probe gets pushed away. Obviously...
Stargate tech comes through.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, Stargate tech coming down this time. Quite forward as well in the main base next to the edges, so quite easy to scout if an Overlord were to come down here. It looks like this one will get there eventually.
Yeah, I think you're not too worried about them seeing the Stargate tech.
No.
You know, you sort of force some spores and you force the Queens to be in position to deal with the Oracles. You know, and it probably will be Oracles. I mean, it's possible. We did see Mix try to play Phoenix in PvP, so you know he may play Phoenix here. You know, it may be a Void Ray into an Oracle or something, but yeah, I would expect Oracles.
We saw Molson go for a Void Ray first last time, but I think, as it says to Bromaria, that's more of a way of not only killing Overlords, but also a safety thing in case there's a Roach all in.
Yeah, exactly right.
But we do see the Oracle first. This looks like the hero style. Do you think we'll see 3-4 Oracles before going for a gateway attack?
Okay, another gateway coming through now, so yeah, I'm going to say it's looking pretty likely. I'm sure this is a style that Mix has played a bit, so I'm sure he's, you know, quite used to it. And it's, you know, really strong, and it's definitely really viable.
Do you see the blind spore crawlers going down for the Zerg player? So clearly aware that this is the meta for Protoss to go for this Stargate, and he sees the Oracle first anyway, so there it is.
Yeah, it's going to be scouted, but that kind of tends not to matter. You know, they're really good defensively. You know, any Lings that come across, you can clean those up with the Oracle.
These Lings are actually being very annoying, just denying this third base for as long as they can.
Yeah, they are slightly irritating. I think Mix just needs to make another Adept, and then those 2 Adepts together can push it away.
Very good defense here as well by Bellator, getting rid of that Oracle, shooing it away from any drones or any lava. Looks like one actually gets saved by the Spore.
No.
Ooh.
Oh. I think the other... Okay, he gets the other drone. Yeah,
he saves one drone at least.
I think that should have been an easy pick-off.
These Lings are so annoying. Oh, they actually killed the Adept and the probe that was on location here as well. Looks like he might even kill the battery, but Oracle's now coming back defensively. These Lings now run away.
Yeah, this is really irritating.
Really annoying.
I think ultimately it comes down to Mix having his unit slightly out of position. I think he sent both Oracles across the map, and if he'd kept one at home, that probably wouldn't have happened.
No, not at all.
You know, this is a lot of value that you're getting out of like very, very few Lings. But is it going to change the outcome of the game necessarily? I'm not sure.
I mean, this has been delayed for at least close to a minute, I'd say. We see 3 Oracles now on the map, and yeah, these Lings still poking around. It's just being annoying, I guess.
It is, and behind this, Seb is getting his macro on really hard here, going up to a really healthy worker count, and that's sort of the game that he always wants to play, I think, in these spots. You know, he's happy to go to like 70, 80 drones and play the later macro game. And it looks like this game. Okay, I was about to say it looks like this game Mix is going to let him, but he's not. This is going to be a charge attack coming through. So
do you think this is like a decoy third base? Like we saw Roscoe do against Seb earlier.
Yeah, it can be. It's actually a weird one. I think Mix wasn't originally planning to do this build. If you're doing a charge all in, you tend not to take gases in your natural. Yeah. And Mix does have those.
I mean, in fairness, Seb sees the gateways and the robo coming down.
Yeah, the difficulty is that you can often assume that this is going to be Stalkers, which is more standard. Yeah. Whereas if it's charge with a few Archons thrown in, which is less standard, it can really catch you like unawares. And the Roaches are good against the Zealots, but bad against the Stalkers, whereas the Lings are good against the Stalkers, but bad against the Zealots. So,
in fairness, it doesn't look like this is a decoy third at all, because Mix is still probing up. He's chronoing out probes, but he's also rounding out his tech. He's going for the upgrades, charge, and Templar Archive. So this looks like it's pretty much just a standard macro play.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can use the third base just because your charge is so delayed, so it's actually not too bad to just like at least get some workers on it and then just transition, move that into being way, way, way more Zealots. Yeah. So I think, he probably won't take gases here because he just doesn't need the gas if he's going to make a load of Zealots off of, I think he must be on like 8 gateways now.
Let's have a look. 4 gateways.
But, 4 building, I think. Or 3 building. Okay, yes, 7. So, this could be a really hard-hitting attack. You're coming through with, like, 20 Zealots, maybe a few Archons, and an Immortal. definitely going to be like kind of a parade push type thing.
Yes.
Oh, way more gates coming down now. Another 4 on the way, so up to, I think, 11 total.
Gates total. Lynx catching this probe that looks like it may have been going for a 4th base there. Oracles that were floating around are being pushed by the Queens defensively, so they come all the way back home now. But yeah, this looks like Mix is just gearing up for a huge 3-base attack in the near future. But we have seen Seb now cutting drones at 70.
Yeah.
He may squeeze out a few more.
He's getting the Baneling nest, which is really important here, because Banelings are pretty good against the Zealots, which clump up.
Yeah,
I think he's actually read this quite well. If it was Blink, you'd expect to see more Stalkers.
Yeah.
Actually, this attack is coming through a really awkward timing.
Look at this attack. We were talking about how many gateways that Mix had in the production tab, but they're just about to finish. So this timing that's coming in here, it looks like it's just caught Mix slightly off guard, slightly too early for him to have anything to deal with.
Yeah, the supply differential is absolutely enormous right now, and I really think Mix is going to be kicking himself for this game.
Yeah,
I think his
definitely.
third just got delayed for too long, and I think that's going to make holding this attack really difficult.
I mean, he has a few good units, like he has the Oracles doing some DPS, he has the Immortals, but there are just so many roaches here picking off units. He's going to pick off some of the infrastructure as well. I mean, Mix can do all he wants with this fancy micro, he can warp as many charges as he wants, but ultimately, as soon as Seb gets on top of this economy, probes are going to start going down.
Anyway, it didn't even matter.
Huge.
So I think this base is forfeit. I think there's Lings hitting the 4th base, so this is even going to go down probably right after it finishes, so he can't even cancel it.
And he's actually unpowered 3 of those gateways, so this huge anti-timing here for Mix. This base is going to go down. Sure, there's a Void Ray, which will clean things up eventually, but there's going to be critical damage done before then.
Yeah, absolutely. An absolute blinder from Seb. The whole time we were focusing and we were thinking, this is going to be a push out from Mix, like a nice, a strong first push with like waves and waves of Zealots following it up. But we didn't realise that, I think Seb had just made some roaches defensively and then realised that Mix just didn't have anything defensively, so he can, like you said, I think yesterday, if you make stuff defensively, you can use it offensively as well.
Yeah. It just looks as though Mix was gearing up for something very greedily by investing so much resource in infrastructure and economy. He just didn't have enough units to defend all those roaches and ravagers coming at the time that they did.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the Oracles, which, like I said, are pretty good for against the Lings.
Yeah.
Against the Roaches, they just have no DPS. So, they switch on, they burn all their energy. You lose the Ravagers, which is obviously an irritation. But then you lose, 5 Roaches to 3 full energy Oracles. It's
you
fully
saw
worth
Mix
it.
panic make that 1 Void Ray, but again, the DPS just isn't there to deal with that many units. You need some kind of splash damage at that point.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, you need to have a critical number of Immortals to just chunk those Roaches.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's none of that at all.
And then from there, it's a big wave of roaches right at the start, and then it's just going to be roaches flooding across the map because, once you've taken out the core of the army, and in Mix's case there wasn't a huge, really strong core of the army in that game, you can just keep flooding Lings and roaches all the way across, and it's, it's a really, really good play.
All right. 1 apiece going into this best of 5 then. Already shaping up to be a good series.
Yeah, if this is EVP.
Yeah, this is EVP.
We'll see.
Right, odds on Mix getting Protoss again.
I think it's Zerg. I think it's going to be Zerg.
You think it's going to be Zerg?
Yeah.
I'm praying for Terran. I really want to see Mix play Terran this game. All right, we are going into Royal Bloods, and it's Protoss again for Mix! I shouldn't say that too loudly, should I?
No, I think it's okay. We're far enough away,
Yeah, that's true.
Down here, who just drew up the series 1-1, losing the last map, in the pink is Mix.
And in the top right, the green Zerg player for Red Dragons, it is Desolator.
He's changed colours between maps. They're not meant to do that, are they? He was yellow at the
Colours
start,
are fine. Colours are fine.
Now he's green.
Call the admin. All right.
Interesting
one. I'm wondering
like
if Mix is getting frustrated by how many times he's getting Protoss. He's like, man, I've got so many cool builds cooked up for ZVZ and ZVT, and I keep getting these Protoss units. What do I do?
Yeah, I think, we heard yesterday that he was pretty confident in his PvP. He played it against Zane and, played really, really well, to be honest.
Yes, he did, yeah.
So I'm sure his Protoss is fine. I'm sure he's confident playing it. I just think... a bit of variety might be nice. I've had days like this where I'm like, okay, I'm going to play random today. And I just get the same race over and over again on ladder. And I'm like, is this random or is this, I might as well just pick a race at this point.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Hilarious.
I feel like this is the RNG that I get when I play Hearthstone as well. It's the same RNG.
Oh, you deserve bad RNG if you play Hearthstone, to be honest. If you want to play a real card game, you play poker. There's no RNG in that at all.
No, that's all skill, I'm told.
Alright, so we see the Pro Scout coming in. Again, Hatch first for the Zerg player. Gateway, fast expand, followed by Cyber. With the correctly placed pylon, might I add.
Someone send this screenshot to Zane, thank you. maybe he won't do it again. He confided in me yesterday that he's played maybe 10 games on these current maps.
Right,
so that's his reason for blocking his own Nexus.
Apparently. Of course. It's not the fact that he's actually a diamond player. He's just been boosted to GM.
I mean, it's Protoss, what can you do? So yeah, a standard opening for Seb. He played the pool first, in the previous game, or in game 1, I forget. Sorry.
He went pool first in game 1.
Yeah, which I think was a good safety play, and it doesn't really make sense to deviate too far, as the series goes on, because if you're playing, safely in case you get a Zerg, the odds that you get a Zerg in game 3 are no different from the odds of you getting a Zerg in game 1.
Yeah.
But
I think it's just a percentage play going for that pool first. Of course, if Mix chooses you game 1, you want to be prepared for it. But seeing that he didn't choose you game 1, you got to go Hatch first sometimes, pool first sometimes.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you don't lose a huge amount by playing pool first, if we're being honest.
No.
It's these little corner cuts that you can do that will get you slight edges, and all of these slight edges add up to make an easier game. So I think it makes sense to play it that way.
All right, we see a different build once again though for Mix, going for that Twilight Council first, followed by Robo. So we saw Ross do this actually when he went for the Adept build, the Glaives.
Yeah, it could be, though, like I said, he hasn't got gases in the natural yet, so I think if we keep an eye at the gases in the Protoss is natural, this may telegraph if it's going to be Charge Lots or Adept. Honestly, I think, the Adepts worked once before with Ross, and, I can't deny that at all. Yeah, and this is a really good perv pillar that you can see from. It's actually going to be neither, it's going to be DT drop.
Ooh, Invisible Man drops. Okay, so we'll have to see again how Seb responds, if he can get a scout off. That's the first one. Again, in this game of information, it's so difficult to prepare for everything if you can't scout.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It can be tricky though. You can get, mis-scouted. It'd be really interesting actually if Mix let the Overlord in and then started researching Charge and then cancelled it and then warped DTs in. Could be a really big brain play, but it does look like he's going to be denying the scouting wherever possible. I think in general, keeping your opponent completely in the dark is probably better than keeping them slightly misinformed,
I mean, we've seen Seb go for blind spores both games now, so do you think that that's going to happen again?
I mean, you should really. It's one of those things, like you said earlier, it's a percentage play. If you do it, you're just slightly safer at not a huge amount of cost. So I think it's definitely, the right play. You're meant to start them around this time, 4 minutes to 4:30 is standard timing.
Yeah.
It doesn't look he started any, so the DT shrine will be finishing up. He's just barely out of vision.
But Seb does see the 2 gases in the natural, so he must expect something's up because he's not going for that
now.
Yeah, because obviously you'd expect the Protoss to go for a 3rd base soon. If there's a Stargate, you'd expect to see an Oracle out on the map now. So he knows it's not Stargate.
Yep.
So you actually see the Warp Prism going in. It gets picked off. 3 DTs going into the 3rd base, but with a Spore here already, he's forced them off from into an Archon, and Recall just gets out.
It's
just
unbelievable
escapes.
How low that is.
That was a superb defense there by Seb.
Yeah, quick reaction times from Mix as well. This is really not what Mix wanted, because now his, like you said, 3rd is delayed because he cut to hit this timing. Yeah, a really nice defense from Seb for sure.
We did see Glaives being done by Mix. It looks like he's cancelled that now. Presumably after how bad that DT harass went. There's a hole in the wall. Open. The Lings are in. He's going to split them up presumably. Send some into the natural, killing these probes. Send some into the main. Panic warping in DTs, but the DPS isn't there, I don't think.
Well, even if you clean this up, which he will, pulling the probes like this, he doesn't lose too many at all. And actually, this was a good save. But Seb has seen through the entire base.
Has he seen that I don't think Mix knows that these Lings got peeled off in the main base. You could just morph those into Banelings if there's a Baneling nest. I don't think there is.
No, there's not, but this is so tricky.
He's just going to send them back in later and be really annoying.
Worse than that, he can scout the tech later and see, is this going to be a Robo Bay follow-up or, what's coming up next. He already saw, the gateway explosion, so he kind of already knows, like you said, that this 3rd is now like a false 3rd. This isn't like a macro play. He's going for charge, and he is going to head across the map as soon as it's done, I think. Just a few more probes coming down, is really good. And mostly it's really irritating to play against it.
Yes, yeah. But again, if you're just taking the wind out of this attack, it's going to be so more underwhelming now that you've got a much lower economy.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even the economy so much, but just like even warping in zealots back in your own base is really irritating.
Yes, yeah.
You have to walk them to the front and just chasing lings around so that you don't lose any more workers.
I mean, Mix is only just now remaking that warp prism, so this attack again is going to be happening in maybe a minute to 2 minutes time.
Yeah, it's going to hit as soon as the +1 is done, as soon as the charge is done, he'll head out on the map.
I mean, there's only 6 gateways, and he is probing up, so it looks like this isn't going to be an all-in per se. I think
he might kind of put all in. I mean, he's mining a lot of gas, and I don't think he should be, because he's not going to spend it at all. I mean, he can make a few sentries for force fields, but oftentimes they actually work against you because they block out your own zealots, which is actually what the Zerg wants. But Seb is honestly playing this really respectfully. You know, he hasn't overdroned at all. No. He's making straight roaches now.
I mean, you are totally right about the gas, by the way, because obviously DTs are more mineral intense than High Templar.
Exactly,
so he's using the Dark Shrine to make Archons, which is just more mineral intensive. You're going to have fewer charges then as well. So again, this isn't as intimidating as it would be if it were your standard High Templar charger all in at attack even.
Yeah. Let's see if Mix can keep the Warp Prism a little bit safer this time around. You know, keeping that alive is really important, because he needs to be, you know, doing these constant reinforcements of these +1 zealots as soon as they're ready.
Yeah.
It's going to be warping in a few more DTs, I think, for a few more Archons. Yeah, 2 more Archons.
Mix is now stepping onto creep. Desolator up to nearly 70 drones, which is a good place to be at this stage of the game. And he's now making lots more units.
This is a great choke to attack
huge.
into.
Look at this. He just dives on top of the Archons. He's going to pick off one instantly. Nearly gets a second on the way out.
Yeah, I think he could have gotten that if he hadn't pulled away. But
yeah, there's just not enough here for Mix. Once again, we just see him caught out with his production, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, Seb's actually maxed out completely.
Yeah,
and
he's going for this attack now because
halfway there.
Yeah, he always has to go attack now because he's maxed.
Yeah, I mean, he could be teching behind this, you know, getting up to, I guess, Hive and doing whatever, but honestly, I can't see Mix weathering this storm particularly well.
Even through the super shield battery, these units can pick off Archons. There is a flanking charged attack, but again, it's just not that much. There's too much Zerg here.
Too much Zerg here for...
Again, with the reinforcing roaches as well, I just don't see how Mix holds on. He's dipped under 100 supply. 3 Archons are left out of what was once 6. Another one goes down. Roaches are jumping on top of everything. The shield battery's under power. This base will go down. So will the entirety of Mix's army. He's just holding on for dear life at this point, and I can't see him finding a way out of this one.
No, I think he's going to be thinking about the next game now. You know, these Ds are going to come through, and there's no detection here, which is really irritating for Seb. So maybe he runs home just for a minute while he warps, you know, morphs an Overseer in, but. Yeah, I can't see this one lasting too much longer.
No, GG is cool. I think Mix just knew he was down and out there. Of course, he had the DTs to defend, you're totally right, but there's just no transition there. Losing all those probes and the base and those really expensive Archons that are really mineral intensive with the Dark Templar, there's just no way for Mix to get back into that.
It's really rough, I think, to play from that position. When you went for like, kind of a little bit of a cheese, the DT drop is like kind of considered a bit cheesy these days.
And like, it does delay your third. Nothing.
It did nothing. You lose the Warp Prism.
Yeah. You nearly lose the Archon that you're forced to make with the because the Spores there.
And just from there, all of your momentum in the game is just lost. It's just completely gone. And from there, you know, you're thinking, okay, so what do I transition to now?
Yeah.
He's thinking, well, my third is too late to do anything with that. So I'm just gonna have to go for like a big all-in and try and, you know, flood and try and get the win from there, but
all right.
Yeah, he's not able to in this game.
We are just going to jump into a quick 2-minute break. When we will come back, we'll finish off this series. Seb up 2-1 to Mix.
Yep.
Don't go anywhere. Hello, Overclockers, and welcome. Oh, screw this. Where's EPIC when you need him?
My name is Aaron, I am 15 years of age, and gaming is a true hobby of mine. My hands, I could notice they were just getting weaker, and I found it really hard to play games. And then the year progressed, and then I started getting a bit depressed because I just couldn't play anymore. It would be too exhausting. So I'll be honest, I didn't think special effects would be able to help me, but they tried different angles, different positions, and they made this brilliant system that I use today. It's changed my life, honestly. With my adaptive system, with my feet, I use 2 controllers. I use the joysticks, the A, B, X and Y buttons, and then I use 2 ultralight switches on my right hand, which I use for the triggers, and then 2 ultralight switches on my left hand, which I use for the bumpers. So I had everything that I would normally use on a standard controller adapted for me, and I could use them again. With my disability, I'm limited to do things. I don't want to sound like a gameaholic, but it was one of the only things I could do for enjoyment. So gaming has really opened up that door for me, and my life was restored back to the way it was. I was playing games, I had a social network like I did before, I had friends. It helps connect you to other people in this world. It's just fun, and it's something for me to do, to unwind from GCSEs and pressure and, you know, just life. So games do mean a lot to me. I don't know where I'd be without special effects. My hobby, gaming, it wouldn't be a thing anymore. So I'm really grateful for them for that.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to EPIC38, powered by Intel. My name is Zeroy, and I'm of course joined by the wonderful Hart.
Oh, you're too kind. It's fantastic to be here watching some ZVP, always ZVP.
ZVP/random, but it's always going to be Protoss anyway. Thank you, Blizzard.
Yeah,
right.
So
Seb is up 2-1 against Mix in this best of 5 match point here. If Seb takes this, he's through to the next stage in the upper bracket, and Mix will be knocked down into the lowers. We are in lobby, ready to go. Countdown is on.
Yeah, loading into altitude. This is the biggest map in the pool, so it's going to be really interesting. You know, which matchup we get on this, matters a lot actually.
Yeah. Do you expect that? Do you expect that we'll go into a late game, or do you think that Mix will just again whip out the really janky, weird team-based type
while
plays?
it is the biggest map in the pool and it is enormous, it's also got a lot of like routes for backstabs and split pushes and all this sort of thing. So while it may initially with the most bases, it's the biggest map, you think okay, well it's going to go long. It doesn't necessarily mean that it will.
No. Okay. Well, it is a ZVZ, so let's introduce the players. In the bottom left, we have the random player, down 1-2. It is Mix.
Playing in the green is stayed the same color now. This is a lucky color. It worked last game, so we're sticking with it. Is Desolator Bellator Seb. That's his full name.
Catchy.
So it's going to be a ZVZ.
Yeah.
This is going to be an interesting one. But we should say Z versus Z, right? We've got to represent UK.
Yes, of course.
It's going to be a pull first out of Seb, but a hatch first out of Mix.
Again, I'm interested to know why Seb's gone for the pull first on the largest map. Potentially, if Mix went Terran, he could
get proxy
racks.
Yeah, he could get cannon rushed, so he might not want to deal with any of that. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that the pull first is pretty safe against. It's not super like cheesy, it's not all in, it's not like weak to too much compared to like gas first, which obviously signals aggression, whereas pull first is safe but not too bad at all. Yeah.
Two overlords passing each other like ships in the night. They do not see each other, so
Seb
still doesn't know what he's up against exactly. He's running 6 Lings blind before even knowing what race Mix is. Again, I presume just for safety.
Well, he's going to head across the map. This is a 16 pool, but it's kind of like with the slow gas behind it. It's not like super aggro. You're just like trying to poke. He does see the Overlord for the first time. So yeah, I wonder if he will send these Lings. I expect so.
Yes, yeah. Well, I guess the Overlord will see that this is a hatch first out of Mix, so he'll know that these Lings are free to go out.
Well, you should also have already seen the opponent's Lings if it was going to be like anything faster than a 16 pool, which is it's pretty quick. The only things faster are like things like 12 pool or 13-12, that sort of thing. 14 pools. I'm just saying numbers and then pool. But the point stands.
Yes.
So Mix is going to kind of over-defend this. He's going to make 8 lings, but you kind of need to show up with more lings than the opponent shows up with to make the fight easy. Otherwise, you're just fighting 6 lings with 6 lings, which is a bit pointless.
So these things are going to come in. They're just going to scout around, do some tickle damage, but as soon as the queen pops out and these extra lings come out, Seb is forced to back away.
Yeah, Mix taking a good fight here, actually. Gets a slight wraparound, but still nothing going down.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, this is pretty meaningless overall. It would be pretty bad if, say, Seb were to lose all of his lings, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, we see the first major deviation now is in Seb is actually not, he's mining gas but not making his ling speed yet, which we call it a gasless opening, which means he basically got the gas as late as he possibly could and isn't using it for early ling speed, whereas Mix is getting the Baneling Nest, which is probably going to signal aggression. I mean, he's building it. I don't know how much you play ZVZ. The idea is that if you build it in the front, it's like signaling defense, whereas if you build it in the back, it's like hidden, it's like an aggressive Baneling Nest. So Mix's is in the back is going to be an aggressive one.
Yeah, but likewise, okay, so...
Yeah.
So Seb is skipping out the Ling Bane phase. Yeah. That's why he's not gone for that Zergling speed or that Baneling Nest. He's going for the very quick.
This is a lot of Lings here, and Seb hasn't fully walled.
He has got a spine here, but it's not up yet. It's just finished. But the Lings run by into the main base, and as soon as Ling speed finishes, this is going to be really annoying for Seb to deal with.
Yeah, this was a massive mistake from Seb. It really shouldn't happen that you just let these Lings in, and he is going to get punished for it.
But you can see that he was trying to wall off at the front, but it was too late. The Lings are already in. He's now morphing in Banelings as well. I think in the main base. So as soon as those finish, he's going to try and blow this up on the drone line.
He's sort of distracting by sending the Lings into the natural and the Banes into the main. So this could be a big loss for Seb.
Huge detonation here on those drones. 14 go down. That is incredible damage for such an early stage of the game.
Yeah, this is huge losses. I mean, I don't want to call it, but it might be over already.
That is almost game-ending damage. Double the worker difference now.
See, so in normal Zerg versus Zerg, your only recourse now is to make a load of Lings and go across the map, because they just use their whole army to kill your drones. So maybe you can get across before they have any army again.
But of course,
unfortunately, he has no Ling speed.
He has no Ling speed. He has no Lings. He can't really build rotors because he hasn't got the economy for it. So he's having to just drone up. But this is such a bad feeling as a Zerg player, I'd imagine.
Yeah, this is pretty rough for sure. Your opponent is basically just ahead in every single way. It's really tricky to keep track of all of these Lings, especially in a map like this where the base is so huge. There are like many places that you can hide those Lings to morph those Banes. We did see these sent out. These are the first 6 Lings that Seb made in the game, and they're not really any good. So he throws those away to scout the 3rd base. Now we do see 4 Roaches and the Nidus network. I'm not really sure.
This is purely desperation here out of Seb. He needs to do something on the other side of the map. He hasn't got the economy.
He has an Overlord behind Mix's main.
Yes, yeah.
And there are like these outcrops on this map where you can put a Nidus.
The question really is whether or not Mix sees or responds to Nidus, but the Ling's already here.
Yeah, Mix has played this so well. Yeah. He's just all over this and absolutely.
If you look at Seb's Overlord placement, he's got 1 out the front, so he's placed 1 Nidus there immediately. He may place another here, but again with the Lings, there's just no chance that's going to happen. This is going to get shut down immediately by Mix's own Roaches. So just no luck here at all for Seb. GG is called. There's just nothing to be done after that Baneling detonation, getting rid of essentially an entire mineral line's worth of drones at 4 minutes.
It's why ZVZ is the best matchup in the game. It's because it's so dynamic, it's so fast. You know, the mistake that he made was not having that second Evo in the wall to block off. His queens were out of position. His queens could have blocked that gap. And you know, had he blocked that fully walled, the Lings would not be getting in. He wouldn't have to worry about Banelings in his main. You know, as it happened, you know, he just made a mistake. The queen's out of position. The Evo chamber wasn't there. When you're playing this style, you know, against someone that's kind of playing this aggro style that like Mix was playing, you do need to be like extra safe.
Yes.
So the way it plays is you have more minerals because you aren't mining gas so early. So you need to spend those minerals on being defensive, and he just actually didn't in that game.
So essentially, just the ultra punish there for Seb for one mistake.
So. I mean, it's crazy. He made a Baneling Nest to make 2 Banelings, but they won the game.
The best Banelings I've ever seen.
It's pretty good economy.
All right. So this is now game 5 of our best of 5. Yeah. 2 games apiece. We are loading into Dragon Scales.
Yeah, and it's crazy that we've got this tied up.
I know. Well, like I said, we saw Seb beat Mix last time at Atlanta 3-2. Will Mix get his revenge? Or
One
will
thing
history
is
repeat?
For certain is spawning once again as Protoss for the 4th time this series. You wanted Terran, right? I can't believe you.
This is the reason I'm casting
furious.
Mix. I want to see him get a Terran because right now it's just him and Raza and Volticus in the Code S.
Yeah. Anyway,
right.
in the pink, in the top left, Protoss once again, sick of it, is Mix.
And in the bottom right, the orange Zerg player, it is Desolator.
Interesting. Again, the mind games are really going to be coming out now. I wonder if Mix, you know, frankly, his first game looked really good with the double disruptors. The ones after that were not so amazing in my mind. You know, he played
totally right. Let's
charge lot all in after a failed DT drop. Pretty meh. He played. The other game was the Oracles, and then just kind of got walked by roaches.
Yeah.
Again,
Let's bear in mind he made 3 Oracles, but they didn't actually do too much economic damage. No. Very good defense there out of Seb.
Yeah.
So you know, Seb's defense has been very good against the Stargate openings and against that DT rush that
Seb
just did nothing.
Is a bit of a ladder hero. And you know, has played a lot of games, so I think most things he will have seen. I think things that he hasn't seen, he can't respond to very well, and that's where he gets caught out, like we saw in game number 1. All of these other things are things that he will have played against. I mean, even, you know, he did lose those games to Roscoe, but I think he kind of puts that down to like rust and, you know, not being fully switched on. He seems much more confident now, and we're kind of seeing it come through in his play where, you know, even these like slightly cheesier things are just simply not working. The DT just got shut straight away. The Oracles, like you said, did no damage. So yeah, this is going to be really big. So there is actually a probe across the map, so he does know it's Protoss, yeah. But he's also going to see the opening and realise, you know, what is coming down on the other side.
That's fine. That's fine.
It's always actually a worry when you go up the ramp and there's no buildings, and you're like, oh, I'm going to concede. But not this game.
It's pretty standard on both sides, but at the moment anyway.
So now the mind games start, and you know, is Mix going to do Adepts, which he knows worked when Roscoe played against Seb? Is he going to do what he did in game 1 again, where he made double Robo, which, you know, was really greedy and didn't get punished, but paid off in the end, and you know that worked. So might as well do it again, right? So.
I mean, the scouting probe goes down to those links. We do see a Robo first once again, which I think is the repeat of game 1, isn't it?
It is what he did in game 1, yeah. The other games were like either a Stargate opener or a Templar Archives opener, a Templar Council opener, sorry. So in this game, it is looking like a repeat of game 1 so far, but this is Mix we're talking about, and he probably has like a few things that look pretty similar, I would have thought.
Yeah. I mean, now that the Stalker is out, this Overlord's going to have to get onto this little feature here so that it's invisible. This Overlord needs to get into the main base, but of course this Robo is so far back in the main.
I think actually the Adept is across the map, just outside the natural. Yeah, so actually the way that Seb was playing in the first game where that shade should not finish.
Yeah, that should not have finished.
That's a big mistake. So the way that Seb was playing in the first game was trying to use the Lings to force the Stalker to come to the front so that it couldn't deny the Scout in the main.
Yes.
Now that he's lost the Adept, he can't do that.
Yeah, well, I was about to say, now that you can see this Stalker's in the wall now, so it's not actually defending the main from this scouting at all.
Yep, and here it is, same build as game 1.
Robo Bay, second Robo.
Yep. Okay. And I think the Overlord is going to snake around and probably will see this.
Yeah. The Stalker does leave the wall, but is replaced by the probe, just to deny this scout.
Yeah. But, you know, again, this also kind of telegraphs in a weird way.
Though. This Adept hasn't finished yet. The Lynx are going to get in, but the Adept is out. It is going to try and kite
these with speed finishing, this is definitely getting scouted now.
Yep. Let's go into Seb's vision. It sees the Robo Bay.
Oh,
does he click on it? Yes, he clicks it. He sees both. He knows exactly what's going on now. So Seb now has all the information he needs. These Zerglings get in again. This Adept's going to go down. So annoying. They will get cleaned up, but still.
There's more links coming out, though, for Seb, and I think this is a really good play. I honestly think if you go double Robo, you know, you're making the Warp Prism. I don't know if you know this, but they can't shoot anything, let alone up or down. So I think link flooding behind this, you know, he's going to get the Roach Roaring, but I think going aggressive behind this and forcing units out means that Mix can't invest in the units that he wants to make, which is the Disruptors. He currently has 3 tech buildings, so both Robos and the Robo Bay, that are doing nothing. I mean, that is because he's supply blocked, actually.
Yes, yeah.
But he's also forced to make shield batteries and stuff at the front of the base, and those Disruptors are starting pretty late, and they're only starting now.
Yes, yeah, yep. So I think you mentioned this earlier as well in game 1, which is the fact that if Seb just tries to force some kind of defensive response from Mix, then it's a lot harder to get these Disruptors out across the map.
Yeah, for sure.
Then again, we do see now Seb is just droning up. It looks like he's going to eventually cut workers to be able to defend this 2-base push.
Yeah, I think the big reason that he struggled in game 1 is because he you know, he got too worried by his scouting getting denied, and he over defended. He under droned, so they put him on the back foot for the rest of the game. In this game, you know, Mix is going to go up to 44 workers and stop there, you know, because he's 2 base all inning, whereas Seb is going to fully saturate his 3 bases.
Yeah.
You know, so long as he can defend the disruptors here quite well, then he should be in a decent spot.
Warp Prism's getting zoned out very nicely by these queens, so Mix does not get a free drop onto the 3rd base. He's going to have to drop the disruptors really far out just to clear up the creep.
Yeah, I mean, you never really want to be spending disruptors to clear creep. You know, you could do that with an adept and a overseer. So
you really want to use this to be clearing up drones or lings and even queens. Of course, queens get 2 shot by disruptors.
Yeah.
But the positioning here from Seb is just so good. There's just nowhere to drop. Of course, he drops out of this base here, trying to get some of the units.
Does do some damage on that first queen, which obviously, you know, every little kind of helps in this case where you're going to be pushing later on. You know, weakening the units up is quite good.
He needs to be careful though. Of course, disruptors get dropped again.
Yeah, I think they're not. I don't think they will have had a shot ready, so I think that might have been a bit keen from Mix. I think, you know, Seb is pretty happy here. You know, he's getting the roaches on the way. He's getting the Ravagers ready. I think he can probably, you know, squeeze out maybe a few more drones. Maybe try and push for the 4th. You know, you can defend this off of 3 bigs, obviously, but you know, having options and having more eco options is always going to be good. Still, you know, not any damage done with these with these disruptors, and you know, there was just a big investment. It's 2 robos and a robo bay, just to kill some creep tumors and damage some queens. I'm not sure it's worth it.
To be fair, I don't think that the disruptor drop itself is that scary. It's this attack that is scary. The disruptor drop is just a way to try to sneak in some damage if you can find it. If you can't, then happy days. I'll just bide my time, warp in lots of units, and then attack you.
Seb is going for a backstab. I think mostly to see if there's a
He's sending links up to the right side of the map.
He might just be sending these to prepare for a wraparound later on.
This supply book is actually really annoying for the Zerg player.
Yeah,
this concave is very large.
Yeah, this is going to be rough to push into.
I suppose this is the difference though between this map and the map in game 1 is the fact that you've got this huge surface area. So this attack angle is pretty poor for the Protoss.
Yeah,
he needs to have mega force fields if he wants to attack down this angle.
His creep spread is way better in this game as well. So you know, Mix is really going to have a long time pushing through all of this.
Yeah. Also up to the right side as well, there's a lot of creep as well, so trying to attack through here is going to be really difficult.
Yeah, exactly. There's not really a weak path currently.
The links, trying to get the wraparound on the disruptors, don't quite find them.
Yeah, he did go and poke at the wall a little bit.
Not quite, okay.
Not quite. He did go and poke at the wall a little,
yes,
just
he did,
to like,
it's a full wall off.
Yeah, and there's a shield bash through there, so it was never really going to do too much. But I think, you know, it keeps, it distracts Mix, it keeps him on his toes, you know. He knows now that there are lings behind him, and that has to be in your mind, you know, when you're thinking about planning this attack, I think.
Once again, the lings trying to find the disruptors.
He is going to dive now, and I think, he's going to have to back off. But forcing the force field is really big here.
It looks like there's just a lot of Zerg here. Disruptor shots have not been that intimidating so far. One goes out.
Enormous hit.
That's the biggest hit you can possibly get on a disruptor. It is just the one though, but that's really taken the wind out of this army here for Seb.
Yeah, he really pushed too far off creep. I really think that was a big mistake.
It looked like he had jumped really well on top of the Protoss army, but at the end of the day, that disruptor shot was just so clean.
Yeah, I think Mix, you know, we were kind of confused watching him like not shoot disruptor shots, but holding it until he could get like the absolute holy grail of shots was really good.
I still think this is a difficult angle to attack into, but he finds more and more value with these disruptors. The issue is that, he gets a wraparound on the front units. He's going to get some of these disruptors.
This is really big.
Yep.
He can't save them because the Warp Prism is in warp mode right now. I think Seb can chase this as hard as he likes.
He's actually going to pounce on top of this. He's killed 2 more.
He
gets the Warp Prism as well! Okay, so one more goes down, 2 disruptors and the Warp Prism. There's no more reinforcements for this army. Mix has to back away. Seb has taken a massive supply lead. I was going to say, trying to attack down this angle is really difficult because you're attacking up a ramp and the base is so far away from where you're attacking. Yeah,
you're really not threatening anything, you know, even with those disruptor shots, which are quite long range.
Seb stands up and eats a huge disruptor shot, but again, I don't think Seb cares. He's well up in army supply, and yet there's just no transition out of the Protoss player.
No, but once again, it's always worrying how much people can make off of 2 bases, and I think, you know, he still needs to be a little bit careful, not get too cocky. He can definitely take a bad fight and throw this. You know, the AoE from these disruptors is
picking off those disruptors though just at the start during that fight is so critical. Remember what I said after game 1? These disruptors are the backbone of this attack, and if he keeps losing them, this attack is really not that scary anymore. Mix has remade the Warp Prism. He's sending over 2 more disruptors, going up to 4.
Yeah, but at the end of last game, he was up to 6.
Exactly.
And with 6, you can stagger them so that you basically constantly have a disruption.
And also, bear in mind, the drone line of Seb has not been touched. He's got this huge army with lots of links and lots of disruptors.
He is slightly out of position here, unfortunately.
He's going for the wraparound, it looks like. He's split his army really nicely. He's going for the surround.
The 3-way. But he kind of lets
he lets Mix kite out of it. So now rather than a 3-way surround, it's just a 2-way, but Mix kiting all the way back up to the north side. The links are still doing a lot of damage onto the Stalkers. He nearly finds a disruptor as well.
Yeah, Seb has played this really well. I think, honestly, he was waiting for Mix to shoot the disruptions before he dived in with everything.
Look at where the engagement's taking place. It's all the way out here, and yet Mix is the one who's meant to be attacking the base.
Yeah, this is a bit, you know, when you're fighting in the middle of the map, when you kind of want to be, like, threatening bases and really putting the pressure on. Yeah, this is rough for sure. You know, like we said, now the creep is coming back into play, and like we said, it's
he actually gets a huge surround. He's going to pick up even more disruptors. All the gateway units are going to go down immediately afterwards. Disruptors are on cooldown. One disruptor goes down, 2 get picked up, and out of desperation. There's just not a lot here for Mix at all.
No, he's down so much supply, and Seb is, you know, feeling really confident now, taking fights away off of creep. But you know, he can take them, and you know, as soon as the disruption shots fire, they're on cooldown, and then that is your cue. Right,
because there's only 2 of them left.
Yeah.
If he had 6, he can stagger them one at a time. But with only 2, you bait them out, and then you attack, and you go in, and you've got nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah.
And then Mix is forced to kite away. His links come round. They nearly get a surround on one disruptor, but the Warp Prism picks it off.
And then this army is absolutely perfect against
now
the rest of the units here.
The disruptors are in the Warp Prism because they had to be saved.
Seb pulling back really well.
Again,
you know,
baits out the disruptor shots. Now they're both on cooldown. Seb moves back in again, trying to pick up some of these Stalkers. But again, look at where the engagement's taking place. It's way off of creep, well away from Seb's base, which is what he's trying to defend. Seb feels confident enough to actually take a 4th.
Yeah, really nice job getting the base up behind this, and he feels confident taking it in that spot because the creep just hasn't been affected there at all.
And yet Seb knows that there's no 3rd base here for the Protoss player. He has vision on both locations, so he knows he's well ahead. He's in a much better position than he was in game 1.
Yeah, this is looking pretty commanding now for Seb. I think game 1 kind of took him off.
He's reaching for that surround. He's got most of the up to the north side, links down to the south. Gets a wrap on some of these Stalkers. One disruptor shot goes out, but it's pretty underwhelming. Look at this surround by these Roaches and Ravagers. He gets the surround on the Stalkers, and yet this is going to get cleaned up. He's going to get the Immortal as well. GG is called. Seb takes it 3 games to 2. History repeats.
Yeah, it's. I think Seb just has Mix's number.
Yeah.
I think Mix got a little bit unlucky rolling Protoss so many times, and you know there is a, you know, it's really unfortunate. You know, he kind of seemed to run out of strategies and run out of steam, and you know that's a bit of a shame. But you know, I think Seb's going to be feeling really good about how that series went.
You're totally right. Seb had Mix's number that game. It looked like, having gone against it game 1, he knew exactly what to do in game 5 when Mix brought it out again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So excellent reactions there from Seb. Okay, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break, and then we'll head into our next game, which I believe will be Raza versus Forjumi, which is the 2nd seed against the 3rd seed. Yep. I think they're the 2 highest seeded players now left in the bracket, so that'll be an excellent best of 5 to watch. And finally, a Terran player.
Don't go anywhere.